4.5 hours later, after destroying the tensioner bolt threading of the engine, which just gave way when I tightened down the tensioner. There weren't even as many threads as there were supposed to be, so it's already been damaged before. I had to go around town and figure out what I was going to do. Eventually got the tensioner hole shimmed. As you can see, I'm already putting the timing cover back on. I got the belt on, I got all the tensioner pieces on, rollers, and lined up. The easy part, like I said, with these Subaru belts is they have these nice little marks that you just line up with your cam marks. And the last thing after you get the belt on, which to get the belt on, the easiest thing I found to do is to tighten up this side. Sorry, this side. This one being spring-loaded at the very top of its spot. You're going to want to set it as gently as you can, that spring-loaded spot. Get the belt over with its mark on it, bring it around, and so you've got it around this. You've got it around this roller. You've got it around the crank. You've got it around your tensioner. You've got it around cam right. You've got it around cam left. There's no orange roller down here, and now you've got geared and water pump. So what I do is I slide it around the geared one just slightly, and then stick it to the edge of the water pump. It's supposed to go down and around and up. And I take a flathead screwdriver and just stick it up under the belt a little bit, right on the water pump, a very thin one, and just slowly nudge it onto the housing and try and keep it from sliding off of the geared one. And then you should be able to get a little bit on. Once you get a little bit on, don't keep trying to push it, because you're gonna make it longer by sticking the screwdriver in there. So I pull the screwdriver and go get my trusty rubber mallet, and then come back over here and just slowly, gently tap it on to the geared pulley and the water pump. And then it's on. And then you come over here, you push up on the belt and put your orange one on. Pretty easy. Might be a little hard, but this is all easier if you take your belt and stick it in front of a heater for about 10 minutes and make it a little slack. Stretches out a little bit. Then give it a little more stretch. Put that on. And then you take your, so I don't have it on here, you take your bolt and you rotate the engine twice. You rotate the cam mark, or the crank mark here, around once and around a second time. Once you come to that second time, that's when the cam mark should line up again, because this rotates 2 for every one of the cams. So then once you check, okay, the cam mark right is on, cam mark left is on, crank is on, perfect. You may notice, like, oh, it's not like perfectly centered, it's a tiny bit to the right. It's a tiny bit to the right, but this one's perfectly centered. That's fine. That just seems to be what it is with these. It's not, as long as it's not a tooth to the right. You gotta be watching for that tooth to the right. Mine are just like a tiny bit over, slightest bit. And then what I like to do, even though there's no coolant in it, most people would argue against that, start the engine. Once you've checked everything's lined up, it's all tensioned, pull your grenade pin on your tensioner. Alright, start the engine. Sounds good. Don't run it, just start it. I can hear it, belt isn't snapping, nothing's falling apart. Come out here, check it, make sure everything looks fine, check the tightness on everything, make sure these are all tightened down. Check the book for the specs. I usually just go by hand spec that I know. And then you come and you start putting your cover back on, your other cover, your crank pulley. You just kind of do everything in reverse order. Yeah, and that's about it for doing the Subaru timing. Yeah, well, good luck.